Well, we got the tubes back in the chassis, the speaker plugged back in, a new power cord installed. I put a new power cord on. Didn't like that old one. I really like this retro cloth covered cable. It kind of matches the older radios, which I think is really good. And these connectors here that I got, we'll look at that later, but they're really nice. I like them a lot. We have the signal generator set up to the grid cap of the 6A7 through a 0.1 microfarad. Let's move the camera over. A 0.1 microfarad capacitor. This is the signal generator coming in on this side, and then a jumper wire going over to the grid cap and the ground of the signal generator. And of course the signal generator is turned on in the background right there. We're checking the IF alignment just to see how far off it is. The signal generator is turned on. There's a T connected, and the vacuum tube voltmeter is connected to the output to the speaker from the transformer. We'll take a look at that real quick. Let me slide the camera down here. I don't think it's that big a deal, but we'll just take a look how I did it. I've got those clips again, those clipped on there to the wires from the transformer to the actual speaker itself. We'll move this back over here and we'll take a look. We're just trying to check the alignment at this point. We want to see how far off the alignment is, and we will focus in on the vacuum tube voltmeter. You can see it's set to the 1.5 scale AC voltage. Let's go ahead and raise this up a little bit. That might make it a little nicer. I'm not a really good cameraman, so okay. I've got the frequency, the RF signal generator turned on. It's been on for half an hour, 45 minutes. I just want to sweep the frequencies to see how far out the alignment is. And once we get that to a peak, we will go down and look at the frequency counter. So we'll turn this up kind of high here so we get a pretty good signal. I won't screw around too long with it. I don't want you to have to listen to that noise for too long. We're going to go up in frequency first, and we'll watch that meter. It's kind of difficult to turn this. This thing is very sensitive to turning this knob. See, I went past it. There's 465, and that's the peak. 465. Go down and look at the frequency counter. 465. So the IF alignment does not need to be messed with. We'll turn this down. I don't want to listen to that any more than you do. So the IF alignment looks like it's okay. I will double check the other alignments once. I'm going to let this run for another hour possibly before I do any more. I'll double check this in an hour to make sure that my equipment, you know, is all warmed up. Vacuum tube voltmeter, the chassis is nice and warm here on the radio. I like to let them run for at least an hour or more before I make any adjustments. But I was running it earlier when I first turned it on with the new capacitors and the tubes all back into it. And the dial tracking seems to be right on the money. So at 1000, I get Como 1000 exactly. So I think the alignment's probably pretty good. I'm not sure if this radio came with a loop antenna that was on the back. I would assume it did, as small as it is. It was a shelf, you know, unit, a tabletop. It's small enough that it would go on a bookshelf. I wouldn't think you would have an external antenna hooked to this. I would think it would have a loop antenna on the back. So I'm wondering if I need to make an antenna and a back for that radio. I'll have to think about that and do some research, look online, see if I can find pictures to see if this thing came with a loop antenna installed on it from the factory. The schematic just shows an antenna. It doesn't show a loop. So I'm not sure. And something else for this adjustment, it doesn't say in the instructions where to have the tuning gang to check the IF alignment. So I just assume it's open all the way. Some of them it's closed all the way. So I will double check that off of the camera. I will close, because I have the gang turned open all the way. I will close it all the way and see if that changes the IF alignment any, if it throws it off. But it looks like it's dead nuts on with the condenser all the way open. So the tuning condenser, tuning gang, tuning condenser all the way open. The speaker is making a little bit of noise. I'm not sure what's going on there. I really like the liquid electrical tape. I don't know if this speaker was savable from the beginning, what it was like. It had made noise since I turned it on, but it had all those cracks and holes in it. And I patched all the cracks and holes, and it's still got a little bit of noise, but it seems to go away if I push down on it. So it might just be because it's sitting here not bolted into the cabinet. We'll get it back in the cabinet after I'm done with the alignment and double check. If it's still making noise, I'm not sure what to do. If I could get another speaker or not, I'll have to look. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out there if we need to. Until I guess the next time you're going to see it, it'll probably be back in the chassis, unless the tuning condenser adjustments are way off. So, and without the antenna, you can't really adjust the antenna condenser, right? But you can the oscillator. The oscillator could be out of alignment a little bit. I've had that before. The IF is okay, but the oscillator's not. So we'll mess with that in a little bit. I'll double check it, and if it's something important you need to see, I'll show you. Otherwise, it'll be back in the cabinet, all put back together when you see it again. Well, I thought we'd take a few minutes and look at some voltages. From what I read, I don't know, a lot of guys have had problems with this can ohm resistor. When I checked this with the resistance, it looked like it was okay to me. Let's look at some voltages now that we got the radio up and running. Speaker's plugged in. So we gotta have the speaker plugged in because of the voice coil. The power runs to it. It's part of the filtering system. Plus it has to be plugged in. So according to the schematic, we have the can ohm resistor down here after the field coil. It looks like 12.5 negative, or a negative 12.5, negative 4.2, and negative 3. So we'll take a look at those voltages real quick here. I'll turn this on to DC. We'll leave it at 200. And let's try this one first. Oh, I got the hold turned on. That happens to me a lot on that one. So there's 11.3. We got the voltage at 120, and it's drawn 0.31 amps, and is the radio working? Yes, the radio is working. The antenna is not hooked up. I don't have an antenna hooked up. Okay, so that should probably be our 12.5, but it's 11.3. 11.3. That's not out of the realm of impossible. So this should be our 4.3. It's 4.7. That's pretty close. And this one should be our 3. 3.3. And it's supposed to be, well, it's negative 3.3. And it is on the schematic -3. This one should be -4.2. And this one should be -11.3. So that's okay. On the schematic, it also gives us a voltage of 130 something, 130 some volts here. And it looks like on the bottom of C9, which is in C10, that's the two electrolytic capacitors. So the two electrolytic capacitors are right here, and they're joined together. They go to the same line. So that's got to be our B plus. And that shows -67. Oh, that's our common. I got it upside down. I'm backwards. Wake up. So 142 seems a little bit high. That should be 130 something. It's 10 volts high for some reason. And what would that be? Because it comes directly off of... Yeah, it just comes right out of the rectifier. And we're just looking at the raw voltage coming out of here. And coming over, it says 100, maybe that's 138. And what did we have? 140 watt? So if that's 138, it's hard to read that. If that's 138, it's only 5 volts off high. I'm not going to complain about that. That seems to be okay. And do they give us any other voltages here? It does not look like they give us any other voltages. Those are the 4 voltages that they, other than the filament line. So it says 6 to 8 volts. It's hard to read the handwriting on this. 6 to 8 volts. It's hard to read. Well, they're 6 volt, 6V6, right? The tubes are all 6 volt. The 78. 75. Well, we got a 5Y3. So the filament voltages are the bigger pins on the we have no filament voltage. Oh, that's going to be AC. It's not rectified. So we'll switch this over to the 200. AC voltage. This is going to be AC, it's not rectified. So 5.7, that's a little bit low. Where does that run? That's that white wire there. Is it 5.7 there? 5.7 there. The big pins here. That's a white wire. That should be 5.7 too. They're all 5.7, so they're making good connection. The big pins up here. Okay, that one's a ground. So this is our supply. Hopefully I'm not blocking you there. Yeah, I'm not really getting that in the picture, am I? There's 2 big pins, right, on the socket, and that's our 5.7. The white wire, 5.7. 2 big pins here, 5.7. Get in here, 5.7. So apparently that's with the load on it, it's 5.7. It's a little bit low, but the radio does function. We've heard it working. See if I can find that antenna wire and touch it. So it works. There's a lot of noise at the 1000. So there's our voltages. I guess that's enough voltage checking. That's all they give us, right? They give us the 138 and the negative voltages off the can ohm resistor. So apparently the can ohm resistor is good. The field coil's good. The field coil's drawn a little bit more than what the schematic shows, but it's like 2 volts. I don't know if that shows that the speaker's going bad, what the deal is, but I'm okay with it. I'm gonna let it go the way it is because I don't have another speaker to try. I wonder if I could come up with another speaker to put in here. I don't know. We'll put it in a cabinet and see how it sounds. I think it's okay for now. Those voltages are using a when they took those voltages, they were using a vacuum tube voltmeter, an old school vacuum tube voltmeter, which we could use up here, but I'm okay with the digital readings. They're close enough. I'm not going to mess around with that vacuum tube voltmeter. It's too sensitive with the, well, it's not really too sensitive. There's nothing really wrong with it. These digital voltmeters, I trust a little more than those old vacuum tube voltmeters. Like I said, the only reason I wanted that vacuum tube voltmeter was to do the alignments, so I could watch the needle move when I make the adjustments on the cans and such. So I guess we're gonna put it back in the cabinet and see how it sounds. Until next time. Well, I got the chassis back into the cabinet. The speaker cloth grill is a lot tighter than it was. The knobs cleaned up okay. They're not so bad. The glass looks great, and it's a piece of glass, not a piece of plastic. I don't have to polish that. I've done nothing to the case. Haven't cleaned it, nothing. This is the way I got it, and I don't think I'm going to do anything to it right now. Here's the back of it. It's not so bad. Chassis doesn't look perfect. There is no back to this radio, but I see 2 holes here. So there may have been a back on this at one time. I don't know if it had an antenna in there, what the deal is with that, but there's 2 wires here for an antenna. I don't know, maybe I'll try and make one in the future sometime. But for now, this is the way it is. Here's the electrical cord that I put on. And this is actually not plastic, it's Bakelite. Somebody's making these. I actually really like these. They say they're Bakelite, but they feel like plastic. But they're actually really cool. And then the cable, it's good quality 2-wire 18 gauge SO cable underneath of this. This is a nylon cover over the SO cable, so it's a reproduction of a cloth cable. I don't know why they didn't make it out of cloth, why it's out of nylon, but it does look pretty good actually. I do like these cords. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in, and we'll try the radio now that I got it all in the cabinet and ready to roll. Let me find that antenna wire.
Increasing the bacteria colonies that are needed to help with sewage treatment. People, of course, are using more hand sanitizer.
If I don't touch this antenna, it really doesn't receive, so it definitely needs an antenna.
Officials say they have not seen similar changes.
In 2022, and that 9, by the way, in 2020.
More algae blooms.
So that's 1,000, and it's right on 1,000 there on that dial.
Not yet an emergency.
And you're right. If the cap goes down, then this number will go up because of the pandemic. It's projected to be at 14.9 next year, 16.3 in 22, and 16.2 in 23. That's with the higher cap, but also with a much higher number as well for
I'm pretty comfortable as long as it's around that 14 to 16 range. I'm pretty comfortable with that. It gets.
I think that's some sort of sports talk.
It was rated 17.99 for
modern technology to communicate. But again, Toby did not talk about prosecution at the meeting, is what we're talking
Again, sports talk.
Who's up in Connecticut, the U.S. attorney. But one thing that could be criminal is if people, including high-ranking Obama intelligence officials, were lying to the courts to try to
talk radio right there
to conduct electronic surveillance on the Trump campaign. That would be criminal, and that's still we're still waiting to find out what happened. Durham's still investigating. We're still waiting for his report.
Looks like it's pretty close to 770.
Is it politically tenable, though, to even prosecute? I mean, we've seen some of the information about Andrew McCabe lying about leaking information to the press. He's not being charged.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the...
Don't really hear that noise we were hearing with the speaker sitting on the table.
If you remember, the Inspector General at the Justice Department already referred...
Doesn't sound like it's distorting, so it was because it wasn't tightened down.
And then there, as you referred to, the ones against Andrew McCabe, the number 2 guy.
Lost, but technically the Mariners could not practice right now under the...
More sports talk. Sometimes they play old games now because of the pandemic. You know, nobody's playing sports right now, so they'll replay a game.
Through the appeal process, it's likely the state will appeal it. And the only challenge to be brought back up.
I'm pretty sure that's 540. Another talk, political talk.
Shanahan and how he ran that offense.
which is affecting your business. The staff and consult. Travel, geographic.
Known for top quality, and they've got
some sort of Mexican or Spanish station. This is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, so. Some sort of Asian.
pros.com to find one of over 830 locations.
Seattle's premier destination for soul.
So it's actually a pretty sensitive radio while I'm holding on to the antenna wire.
Hi, this is Lillian with Central Social Cast.
So not so bad.
After I was in a crash, Matt, if someone has been...
All right, maybe we'll play the shadow here. I'll get the Adreno AM transmitter set up, and we'll play the shadow again. The introduction, anyway. Well, I thought we'd play the shadow, and then we'd be done with this radio. That speaker just... There we go. I had it out of tune a little bit. Let's restart it. Yeah, see, it distorts. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about that speaker.
Once again, your neighborhood blue coal dealer brings you the thrilling adventures of the Shadow, the hard and relentless fight of one man against the forces of evil. These dramatizations are designed to demonstrate forcefully to old and young alike that crime does not pay. There is enough anthracite for all the lucky householders whose homes are heated with hard coal.
Hard
These
cold.
homes are enjoying healthful warmth in
I just can't get over that hard
Even
cold.
though winter winds blow, there is no need to cut down heat or close off
This is
rooms
way
in
cool.
homes heated with dependable hard coal. Yes, sir. When you have a supply of hard coal in your basement, you are the boss of heating your house. You are absolutely independent of any outside service. Be glad you heat with anthracite, the home heating fuel that never fails. And remember, blue coal is the finest anthracite money can buy.
The Shadow, mysterious character who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. The Shadow uses his hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so that they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the Shadow belongs. Today's story, The Laughing Corpse.
Well, there it is. I think if I can find a speaker for it, I will replace it. I don't like that speaker. If there's some way to fix that, I don't know. I had read somewhere to take a brush and dip it in water and just soak the whole speaker, and it might be able to fix that problem. I don't know if that's the fix for it or not, but if I can find another speaker, I will try another speaker. Pretty hard to come by those speakers with that voice coil inside of them. Alright, well, leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. We got another one done. Maybe someday I'll repair these chips. I don't know. Not really set up to do that where I'm living right now, so it's kind of hard to do woodworking. I know it's pretty simple repair, but I think it would look kind of cool as a Dutch. You know, the old Dutch repair they used to do to wood, to tables. You see them have the Dutch in there. It's like a bow tie. It's pretty cool. But it's on the edge, so I don't know if that Dutch would work there. Alright. Good enough.